drove as fast as I can, probably 90 miles an hour. Turn the corner. They're getting on the bus. Clifford, here's the tape. Graham Nash goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have the Pevar family here tonight. Would you please stand up?" And my family stood up in Carnegie Hall. I mean, pinch me.
I love you, Jeff. You are a wonderful musician. You make beautiful music, and you made beautiful music with us, and you should know that. See ya.
Wow. So yeah, Jeff, where do you start first?
Well,
Phoenix told me he starts with the broth.
You know, it's different each time, and there's something nice about allowing each experience to be unique rather than following
I like that.
kind of a script.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it. It just kind of happens.
Yeah. Welcome to Rogue Ramen.
Yeah. So I might go for this egg.
I'm gonna try the broth first.
All right. Is that good?
Oh man.
Right?
So tasty. Yeah, that's what we went with last time. Is try the egg first and then kind of went from there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yeah, but so the slurping thing, you know, that's almost like a custom when you eat.
It's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
So it's acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, in certain cultures, it's like you're supposed to.
You better.
Yeah.
Or,
right. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, in Japan, they just like totally go for it.
All right. So show us your best slurp.
Oh man.
Put you on the spot now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is something I have to do, right?
Yes.
This isn't going to be my best one.
Okay.
Okay. I have to start off there because that's too steep. You know, some slurping is okay. I can do that, but I just, you know, it takes me a little time to warm up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember being on a boat with David Crosby and Michael McDonald. David had this beautiful boat, and I told Michael McDonald that I did an impression of him.
No way.
And his eyes rolled up in his head, and he goes, "Me and Ed Sullivan." He goes, like everyone does his impression.
Yeah.
And I said to Michael, I said, "But it takes me a little time, you know, to warm up. And we're out here on a boat. So where are you going to go?"
Yeah.
"Oh, baby." Just give me a few times. "Oh, baby." You know, and he's like rolling his eyes. And anyway.
Oh, man.
He told me a great story.
He writes all those songs that you hear on boats, it seems like, right? You know what I mean? I think I saw like a show about it, and they're like, you got to get some Michael McDonald CD, and you just go out on a boat. It's just kind of life. You know what I mean?
He told me a story where it was after a show with the Doobies, and back then there were, you know, people who happened to smoke things, right? And
we're talking about Grass and the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, that kind of. Well,
that
there you
seems
go.
To yeah.
Well, anyway, he made a bad decision and decided to imbibe, and this is when he was a kid, and he thinks it was laced with something, and so he went back to his his own hotel room. He's like sweating, is like feeling very uncomfortable, and he turns on the TV. It just so happened there was a spoof of him on Saturday Night Live. He thought he was losing his mind.
Oh my gosh.
The spoof, and I've never seen this thing, but I guess he's driving, they're having this guy, because Michael used to sing on everyone's record, right? So they had a guy in a sports car, and he runs into the studio.
Yeah, this is great.
And just, "Oh baby," and then leaves and goes to a sports car to the next studio. "Oh, baby." And he sees this, you know, when he's like kind of out of his mind. He thought he was truly losing his mind. Poor guy. Thankfully, he did survive.
You have all kinds of stories.
Well,
I mean, I've only heard, 50. I mean, every time I hear a couple, but you know what I mean? You've been on the road with some amazing musicians. You yourself are an amazing musician.
Well, I've been fortunate. I used to say that I was lucky, but I think that luck can be blind. And I think fortune is something that kind of happens when, maybe it's right place, right time, or maybe it's something that you manifest through your passion or your tenacity or your commitment, So I like the idea that we as people are more powerful than we could ever imagine. I mean, at least entertaining that idea.
Yeah.
That why would we talk ourselves out of the possibilities versus why don't we consider that like a magnet, we can draw opportunity to us?
Yeah.
That the dreams, the desires that we have aren't some crazy haphazard idea that'll never happen.
Yeah.
When in fact, I want to play guitar with the best musicians I possibly can.
Yeah.
And as time has gone on, I've played with greats.
Yeah.
Now, is it blind luck? Well, I worked hard at it.
Yeah.
I went after my dream. I take pride in what I do, just like whoever made this ramen.
Yeah. Phoenix. Yeah.
And there's something to be said about cause and effect.
Yeah.
Newton's law, I guess.
Yeah.
So when I think about the possibility that maybe we are more powerful than we can ever imagine to manifesting what it is that we desire, and is it possible that if we align with that possibility, that maybe there's something there?
Yeah.
Just an idea.
No, you're
Concept.
100% correct. I mean,
Well, I don't know.
take me back to when you were a kid, right? What started this all?
Then,
you know what I mean? And
now I can slurp.
Yeah, slurp it up. There you go. All right, that was better than the first one, I think.
Wow. I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Changed my life. I mean, the vivaciousness, the happiness, the celebration, it just blew my mind. I fell in love. I fell in love with the possibility of seeing how powerful music can be, how inspiring it could be, how happy it could be, how engaging it could be. So that was a pivotal moment in my life. And I'm sure most of the musicians around my age probably could say the exact same thing. It was a game changer.
Was there one in particular that made you more,
One Beatle?
Was there one Beatle that you were more interested in, Okay.
Yeah. Paul? At first.
Yeah.
I've gone through phases.
Okay.
I'm actually going to go see Ringo this weekend.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've got friends in the band, so.
Oh, well, figures, right?
Yeah.
They might ask you to sit in, you think,
No,
maybe?
no.
Just...
Although the night before, I'm going to sit in with Warren Haynes.
What?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man, how cool is it to be you?
Well, you know what it is? I have the chutzpah. Yeah. Again, what we're talking about before. Is it possible that if we have a dream and we go after it, that we might be able to attain it?
Yeah.
And so in this last year, I've asked a number of my favorite musicians that I was planning to go see if they would mind it if I brought a guitar and played.
Yeah.
And just about everybody has said, yeah, do it. Bring a guitar.
And sit on stage for a song or something.
And so Tommy Emmanuel, Martin Sexton, Little Feat, Bruce Coburn.
So cool.
It's actually mind-boggling to me,
right?
Because I'm still that little kid. You said take me back to when you were a kid. I'm still that little kid who can't even believe it. I'm pinching myself.
Okay, so why guitar? Was it Paul back then?
Well, guitar. There was a kid down the street who played guitar, and Beatles guitars.
Yeah.
Some are bass guitars only have 4 strings, and some are guitars 6 strings. But that's where it started for me. And when I was a kid, I was listening to transistor radio all the time.
Do you remember your first guitar?
It was my brother's guitar. My brother brought home. He was
acoustic, electric.
The first one was an electric, and interestingly,
That's interesting.
My brother had a little reel-to-reel tape machine that had a 1/4-inch jack and a microphone in. And if you put the jack of the guitar into the tape machine and put it in record, there was a speaker. And so that was my first amplifier. The electric guitar actually came through this little tape recorder when it was on. So the tape recorder, you know, there was no tape in there, but you turn it on record, and yeah. Anyway, you do what you got to do.
Like a live kind of feed almost.
It was, yeah.
In
it
a
was,
weird
it was a live feed.
Yeah. Cool.
But
So,
you know, go ahead.
was it? Do you remember like the brand of guitar, the feeling of it? I mean, it wasn't left-handed, obviously.
I think it was a K.
Okay.
K-A-Y.
Like maybe
Sears,
like a
maybe, or
Sears or
something,
yeah,
yeah.
Kmart or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Do you remember your first gig that you were like, okay, here's our first gig? Or
I was
how'd that
practicing
go?
with a band, and I think most of the members happened to be Jewish, including me. So we played at the Jewish Center.
Is that why you keep saying huspa?
Oh, well, it's chutzpah,
Okay.
which is Yiddish. And I think that has guts. That means guts or whatever. Fill in whatever word you want to use. And my father spoke Yiddish. I mean, he was an immigrant. Although he was born in the States, his family, my grandparents, who I never met, they passed before I was born, are from like Russia, Romania, that part of the world. You know, it blows my mind to think about how I even got here.
Do you remember? Do you know the story? Obviously, you do.
Well, I know the story. Yeah, my father's father, Abraham Pevar, he actually, nice slurp. He left from the port of he left his family with the idea. He went to South America to work for 7 years, as I understand it, as a gaucho to earn enough money to bring his wife and 2 children to the New World. They met up, and my father was born 9 months later. So my father used to tell the story. So he was the love child. But can you imagine a father of a family having to leave his family behind for 7 years to earn money, to bring them with the idea of bringing them? It's unfathomable.
Greener pastures, so to speak, or right?
And the possibility of that not even happening is so huge. That
talk
just
about
the fact
huspa, right?
Yeah, the fact that I'm even here.
Yeah.
The fact that immigrants of my tribe made it here.
Wow.
It's mind-boggling. So there's something
deep.
very interesting about living here. There was a thing that I did once. It's called constellation therapy, which is kind of out there for me.
Well, this is Ashland area. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, this is hippie towns.
Right.
Yeah.
So the constellation therapy thing is that you can actually embody energy from those who have lived before you that comes through who you are. And there are people who are very susceptible to seeing that energy. So the thing that blew my mind was this person who was doing it said, I'm getting a message from your brother that died. And I was like, oh, it can't be me, because the message was that I'm getting to give to you is it was worth it for me to die so you could live. My mother had a miscarriage.
Wow.
Right before I was born. She was skating, she fell while she was pregnant, and she had a miscarriage. This person had no idea, obviously. And that's the only thing that I could decipher from this experience. That is, at least, yes, I'm doubtful, and I'm also pragmatic, or I believe there's a lot more in this crazy life than we can see and believe. But anyway.
Yes, 100%.
So, yeah, I look, I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it's possible to heal through music.
Oh, yeah.
Through vibration, through love, through intention, through, my therapy is music.
You're a giver. right? I mean,
Well,
you give your heart and soul playing music.
I don't have a
that
choice.
And that's what makes it even better.
I don't have a choice.
And that's what makes it even better, because you know that it's real. There's nothing fake about it. You know?
I'd probably be out of my mind if I didn't have music
Yeah.
to channel
Yeah.
all this
I can understand that.
chutzpah, all this
Yeah.
life force, all this
Yeah.
desire,
Yeah.
frustration, happiness, anger.
So Carnegie Hall, I saw you at a barbecue, and you had told me about a story. Would you say it was one of your most prized moments in life, best accomplishments? I don't know. You know, what's the right term there?
It's a good question. You know, I sometimes will play at a really not a very good experience.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I remember after having the opportunity to play in huge stadiums and in front of 150,000 people, pulling up to a seedy little joint and feeling like a little moody.
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing with my life? You know, what am I now? I used to play here, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought to myself, kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen Animal House with the angel and the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And you have both sides of your consciousness, the one that is feeding you and the one that is, you know, the devil, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And the angel said to me, Jeff, every night is Carnegie Hall. Wherever you are is Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
So you go in there and you play your butt off. And imagine that what you're bringing to the people who happen to be in attendance is going to be just as powerful as when you were playing at Carnegie Hall. Well, it was my own way to kind of console myself and feeling like I lost it. You know, I used to be hired for this, and now I'm only playing here. But there's something really beautiful about, I mean, at a certain point, you have a decision to be your own worst enemy or your own best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only one of those that keeps you sane.
Yeah, or alive.
Yeah, or alive. So getting back to your inquiry, I had a chance to play Carnegie Hall with David Crosby and Graham Nash. It was an amazing experience, especially because I flew my father up from Florida. And my family was in attendance.
So amazing.
And Graham Nash, being the gentleman that he is, halfway through the show, he goes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have the Pevar family here tonight. Would you please stand up?
Wow.
And my family stood up
in
Carnegie
cool.
Hall. I mean, pinch me.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, yeah.
I got the chills when you first told me that story, because to have something like that is, you know, it's probably every musician's dream, you know, to be accepted by his family for what he truly believed was his calling, you know, his or her calling, right? I mean, would you say that was your calling? Like, you knew it? Like,
when I was in my junior year of high school, and I wanted to leave school because I knew you go to school to get the fuel and maybe the knowledge to find out who you are and what you're going to do with your life. Well, I already knew. And in fact, at school, I was getting high, and I was hanging out with people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with. And I wanted to pursue my creative life. So I told my parents, who they weren't together at the time, that I was going to leave school, and they were not excited about it. But I knew. And playing at Carnegie Hall was almost like, see, I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I knew that I was making decisions to get me here.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not tit for tat. It was lovely for me to be able to give that to my father. And interestingly, that same year that my father came to Carnegie Hall, he also witnessed my brother Stephen arguing a case at Supreme Court. My oldest brother Stephen, who's a fantastic lawyer. He's one of the most known authorities of American Indian law in the country. Yeah. So
amazing.
Anyway, I'm boasting about my brother because he's incredible. Stephen Pevar, Stephen.
Yeah. Steve
And he's the
Pevar.
one who gave me my first guitar.
That's super cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's amazing in itself. So, who were some of the musicians that that gave you confidence to, you know, strive higher and be better than, you know?
Everything along the way.
Yeah.
When I was 14, 15, I started playing in a band with guys who were 18. My mom used to drive me to rehearsals. We were playing in clubs. And I was being featured as a lead guitar player. There was a song by Steely Dan called My Old School that has this incredible guitar solo, and I learned it note for note. And so people would come to see this little kid who was 15 who was playing this incredible guitar solo. Not my guitar solo, but I could play it, you know. So that was kind of where it started, you know, just kind of feeling like I'm being celebrated by kids who were older than me who brought this little kid into their band. And then it just kept kind of going from there.
How old were you when that was?
15.
Wow, that's super
15,
cool.
16.
Yeah, and then the other kids were probably, what, a couple years older?
Yeah. They had licenses.
And they had all the equipment and stuff? Or?
Yeah. The Bootleg Band.
The bootleg bands.
Yeah, that was in Hartford, Connecticut area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. So in that process, because I know that's kind of like what we were talking about here last time was like roadmaps. Like what? So that got you there, and then you knew. Was that the moment when you knew? Okay, I need to do this all the time. I need to practice as much as I possibly can.
I mean,
so on and so
you know,
forth.
after singing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, I knew that
Yeah.
that was my life's path, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
But also, my parents had broken up, and the guitar became my safe place. It was a place where I could pour all my confusion and my dreams into. And so in school, you have biology, you have math, you have, you know, social studies, you have all these different things. Well, every band was the next subject that I was learning.
Oh, nice. I like that.
It was a diversity. So in this band, I'm playing, you know, Van Morrison and Jay Giles and Allman Brothers and blah, blah, blah. And then I got in a country rock band and I'm playing, you know, country music and Eagles and, you know, Doc Watson and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Neil Young and Crosby, Stills and Nash.
So how did you get the gig with playing with Ray Charles?
It's quite a story.
Yeah, I want to hear that one for sure. It's ramen. It's hard not to just want to go right back in. You know what I mean? I think I was told like stop eating, and I was like, oh well, can't do it. Sorry.
I have to have a little bit of this, and then I'll tell you the story. The broth is incredible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it's incredible. All right, this is a wacky story. So here I am. At this point in time, it is 84. I'm about 26-ish. I was born in 57, so whatever that is. Somewhere around there.
Okay.
26, 27. I had played in a lot of different bands. And in fact, I had done my first big tours, or let's just say my first actual tour with a woman named Ricky Lee Jones. And I had, that was 83. And I had the opportunity to go into the studio with her. And there was an article in Rolling Stone talking about the record that I played on. And it just so happened that they said that they talked about one of the songs that I played on. So to my surprise and great pleasure, the words were, "And the graceful pluck and weave of Jeff Pevar's guitar on the song, It Must Be Love, blah, 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 blah." So here I have this tangible
Jeez.
Rolling Stone.
I'd say, yeah.
You know, my name in Rolling Stone, right? So it was kind of a first, you know, big deal.
Yeah, pedestal almost.
So
I mean,
that was a calling card that I brought with me. And I'll give you the rest of the story. So I had a Friday night off and I was living in Hartford, Connecticut, and Ray Charles was playing in New Haven. And New Haven is about, I don't know, is it 50 miles, 40 miles, something like that? You know, it takes about an hour normally. Well, let me preface this by, I met an incredible man who has been a supporter of me and my music from the day that we met. And his name is Doug Cupper. And Doug Cupper owned a recording studio underneath his father's advertising business. And Doug would produce the ads for his father's business. And then on his own, he would do some production for other artists. He would take on his own business, right?
Okay.
Well, I happened to be brought into his studio to record for an artist. And Doug saw the promise of this young kid and started calling me for recording sessions. And as time went on, he gave me the keys to his studio.
Wow.
That I could go in at night and experiment. Now, who does that?
Wow. Well, and he trusted you, obviously.
He trusted me.
Yeah.
So I went in there all the time. Even if I was playing a gig until 2:30 in the morning, I'd show up there at 3 and be working and creating and playing organ or playing guitars and recording.
And how old were you at this point?
So this is, I was about 25.
Oh, I think you might have just said
right.
that.
Yeah, 25,
okay,
26, right? So I had amassed some recordings.
So you're going in there pressing record and then playing
and doing it myself.
Wow, that's amazing.
And back then there were records of just drum tracks, and so then I'd play bass and I'd create recordings.
Cool. Very cool.
Of various things because I was interested.
This
in
is
so many
before
different...
computers too.
This is tape.
Tape. Yeah.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it fits into the story. So Friday night, Ray Charles is playing. I'm planning to go. Phone rings. It's a friend of mine saying, "Hey, I just heard that our friend Morris Pleasure, who's a dear friend of mine, and I barely knew back then, is going down to fill in for Ray Charles's guitar player because his guitar player had left the band." My friend goes, "You should go down and get that gig." Kind of a message from, I mean, what made him call me to do that?
Yeah,
so
I love that.
I'm thinking, well, heck, I'm going to take the magazine. That's my calling card. I'm going to take the Rolling Stone, put it under my arm.
Yeah.
I drive down there early. I know that bands go and sound check early. I'm walking around the stage area door. All of a sudden, this big bus comes up. Musicians start filing out. I said, "Excuse me, my name is Jeff. Who's your band leader? I hear you guys might need a guitar player." And the guy goes, "Clifford Solomon is the band leader." There he is right there. I introduced myself. I said, "Clifford, my name is Jeff Pevar. I've worked with Ricky Lee Jones because I had toured with her a few years earlier and played the record." I told him I might be interested in the job. He goes, "Well, come on in. We're getting set up for sound check. Why don't you hang outside stage and I'll talk to you." And then he talked to me. He said, "Listen, we have 2 shows tonight. Why don't you sit and watch side stage, and at the break I'll talk to you." So here I am watching this guy, Morris Pleasure, who is a multi-instrumentalist, who's an amazing musician, and I could talk about him for hours, but let's talk about the story. So he's filling on a guitar, and his guitar isn't really his main instrument, but they needed someone immediately. So I watch him, and he has chord charts. He has the charts for the guitar.
For each song.
For the songs.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a self-taught musician. I don't necessarily read music. That's not my strength.
Yeah.
It never has been, but I'm a natural. I can hear music and I can play it. I understand what it is. It's kind of like if you had me recite words and didn't write it down. I hear the words and I can remember the words and I understand what the words are.
Yeah.
So writing music is a communication force, right? It's a way to communicate. But if you're hearing the words, well, anyway, I've made my career on being able to listen to music and know how to play it and teach myself how to play it from my ear. Anyway, I'm watching this guy fill in and Angel and the Devil. The Angel's going, the Devil goes, Jeff, you don't read music. You can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the Angel's going, Jeff, why would you jump to that? Why? You're such a natural. Why would you convince yourself that you can't do this?
Yeah.
First set ends. Clifford comes up to me, the band leader. He says, so what do you think? Are you interested? And I said, yeah, I am. He goes, do you have a tape? I go, no, but I'll be right back. I got in my car from the theater in New Haven. I drove as fast as I could to the Tapeworks studio in Hartford. I had some tapes that were mixes of the songs that I had prepared.
Wow.
I chose the bluesiest ones I could find, dumped them off to a cassette, drove as fast as I can, probably 90 miles an hour. Turned the corner. They're getting on the bus. Clifford, here's the tape.
Wow.
Got a call the next day.
Just in the nick of time you made it.
Just in the nick of time. He calls me the next day to drive to New York to do an audition. I did an audition. They taped it. Ray wasn't there, but I played with the whole band.
Amazing.
They put some charts in front of me. I was able to get through them because in the big band, the guitar player is playing chords, mm-hmm. and then he's playing blues type solos. And so I was able to get the gig.
Yeah.
It's somewhat crazy.
So tell me about the first time you met Ray and it was like, okay, now you're going to do this.
Yeah, well, the opportunity to work with Ray was a few days later. And in fact, my friend Doug Cupper, who gave me the keys to the studio, said, I'll drive you.
Wow.
It's a blizzard.
To New York.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Center of Performing Arts.
Wow.
It's a damn blizzard.
Wow.
And what should have taken 2.5 hours took 5 hours. Fortunately, we left early, but we got there 20 minutes before the show. Thank God.
Jeez.
We walk in, Ray's manager. I don't know how to best say this, but he was just not a nice man.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. And there's a lot of people who could say much worse things about him, but Joe Adams. Anyway.
We ain't got time for that. Yeah.
Joe, yeah, I don't empower that stuff.
Yeah.
Joe says to me, your friend can't stay. I go, what? He said, the show is sold out. There's no tickets left and you can't stay. I said, Mr. Adams, all due respect, my friend just drove me 5 hours to get here. If he has to leave, I'm leaving. He's like, okay, we'll put a chair over here on the side of the stage, you know.
Yeah.
He's just pulling his shtick.
Yeah. People need
Interestingly, I never knew this, but as I'm getting my bow tie on and this and that, Ray Charles is brought downstairs and they sit him right next to Doug.
Wow.
and Ray Charles feels the presence of Doug and he turns to me and goes, so how you doing? You know, and so he has,
awesome.
has a conversation with my friend Doug. This is the first time I played with Ray.
Wow. I
got through the charts, you know, and rather than talk the technological how I did it, because I was able to get through what needed to happen. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Charles called me into his office and he made me an offer to join the band and pay me like barely anything, which they barely paid everyone those days. But anyway, it was how it happened. Yeah. And I learned early on I could get Ray Charles to screech into light with the right place blues guitar because he was an open nerve. I mean, he felt music so deeply.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
So I would play bluesy type thing and he would go, oh, he'd turn around and go, you nasty boy. So imagine my delight at the opportunity to move the master, if you will. Yeah. And in fact, the band leader came over to me and goes, "Oh man, sure do like you."
I love that.
Which is why I kept upping my asking price.
Yeah. Dude, I'll say.
You know.
Yeah.
You have to.
You can make a move, yeah.
Well, you're learning to be a businessman as time goes on.
So
now, I believe it's okay to kind of do this.
It really is.
Because there's only so much that this will.
No, for sure. Yeah.
And, I got to make up for lost time.
Yeah, I got more questions, but you just go ahead and, enjoy because that's the whole point, right?
Wow. My God. Mm-hmm. I mean, even with all this talking, I'm eating faster than you. I told you I eat fast. So, I ended up doing 3 different seasons with Ray Charles. And I was told when I got in the band when it's time for you to leave the band or you decide to leave the band, you give two weeks notice, no more, no less. And I'd done it for 3 seasons, and I felt like I needed to move on. Not that playing with him wasn't amazing, but he tours for most of the year, and it's a big commitment. And I wanted to move in a different direction than doing this over and over and over. I did probably, a couple hundred gigs.
Yeah. Wow. So what's it like performing or like touring, and then do you get nervous performing? Or?
Well, let me just finish this thing, and then I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So I'm just telling you how I gave my notice to Mr. Charles.
Oh, this is how
it's kind of a cool, little story.
Yeah.
So I was told, give 2 weeks notice, no more, no less. So I go into Mr. Charles's office. I go, Mr. Charles, I'm here to talk to you because I read in your book that there was a period in your career where you were working for someone, Charles Ford or whoever it was, I can't remember, Charles Brown maybe, and you decided to give your notice because you felt like it was time to pursue your own music. And I said, and I'm feeling that desire. So I was told when I got in this band to give 2 weeks notice, no more, no less, and I'm here to give you my 2 weeks notice. And I never want to burn a bridge with you because I have learned so much, and I just feel so honored to have the opportunity to play with you, but I feel like I have to go after this dream and this push that I'm feeling to further my career.
Wow.
And his answer was, honey, the only thing I ask from my boys is that they play for me. You play your ass off. He goes, the only thing I'm going to ask is that I get a phone number, not your girlfriend's number, because that could end overnight. But I just want a phone number so I always can get in touch with you. And I said, sure, and blah, blah, blah. So,
wow.
Yeah. But what was your question?
That was the most amazing story I've ever heard.
Well,
that's pretty beautiful.
There's an opportunity to...
The fact that you could make him twitch in a sense and feel the music more is... Well, wow. Talk about like, a medal, but then actually just having something in your head going, well, I did that. So...
He invited me to his studio.
Amazing. Wow.
And I played on one of his records.
You did?
Yeah. Actually, I'm on a couple of his records.
Wow.
With that one session. But the thing that's really funny is it's a Christmas record. So we got the Jewish kid to play guitar on his Christmas record.
Yeah.
So I'm on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Okay.
The record is The Spirit of Christmas.
Ray Charles, Spirit of Christmas.
Yeah. What Child Is This? There's one or two others. Oh, Little Drummer Boy, maybe.
Yeah, that's one of my hits. Yeah, they made me play it. I got to play that when I was a kid in L.A. at this church. Michael J. Fox was there.
Wow.
And I was like the main kid.
Cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was like an Irish Catholic kind of deal. But,
fun.
So yeah, what's it like touring and like the pressures and that kind of you know what I mean? Like how could you how would you describe it? Not just necessarily with one person or another, but for yourself.
Well, there's a great line that a friend of mine, when I say a friend of mine, he was a hero turned into a friend. Fantastic bass player named Leland Sklar. Leland played with James Taylor. He played with Phil Collins. He's played with all kinds of folks. I've had the great pleasure to play on some TV shows with him and certain private gigs and this and that. And he has this big mane of hair and long beard, and he's a very famous bass player. So his line is, I play for free. It's the other 22 hours of the day that I charge for. Which is a great line because in fact, we all love to play.
Yeah.
And so when you're asking about touring, there's all different types of tours. There's some cushy tours, cushy meaning high level, very comfortable, and some tours where it's hard, not good accommodations, not good travel, blah, blah, blah. I have been so blessed. Many more of the tours that I've done have been much more comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable tour buses or, flying. There was one gig with a guy named David Foster. I had I flew to Singapore in, that business class. It's like
All
a
the leg
sleeper
room,
bed.
yeah.
No, it's a sleeper
Oh,
bed.
what?
And you can lie down and,
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, I've had a chance to rough it too.
Yeah. Well, we hear about like the van days of young musicians go through that.
And you know what? I still do it from time to time when I need to, when I have to.
Yeah.
Because really, I don't put myself above anything that has to do with something that I want to do.
I love that. That's so
you know
good.
what I mean?
Yeah.
There's times I'll play for free because I want to be there.
Yeah.
I want to contribute.
Yeah. We were just talking about that. You kind of help out people that are kind to you and do things for you, and not necessarily that you're even like keeping a list or anything like this, even though you played on the Christmas
album.
album.
It just feels right to do.
Yeah.
It just feels right to do.
Yeah.
So it's not.
You're a good dude.
Well, I've been accused of lots of things.
Yeah.
But that's one of them.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
I appreciate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Look, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all have our dark side, but I've become more aware of leaning towards my integrity, because integrity is everything.
It really is.
When you're a kid, you don't really have as much of an understanding of how important integrity is. Yeah. So I love integrity. I love being aware of how I'm able to not only honor myself by being in integrity, but honor those around me. Yeah. That
it rubs off.
That's the
right?
biggie.
I mean, people see that and they want to, be that way. And almost you can, I swear that it's like similar to the first time I met you and you told me some advice, and it made me kind of think of everything a little differently on how I approach the way I perform and what I do in negotiation.
Do you remember what that was?
Yeah, it was, know your worth and just kind of, I think we were talking about something and I was telling you and you immediately were just like, hey, well, you're worth more than that, aren't you? And it was kind of like, yeah, I am. Right. And then you made it, something just clicked. And for you to even, we didn't know each other that well at the time. And not that we do now, but we're getting to know each other here over some ramen. But you know what I mean? It was like you were telling me, hey, you are worth more than that.
You're only worth as much as you're willing to ask for.
Exactly. That was what it was. Yep, yeah. That's what it was.
Well, it's kind
of a cool,
word
for word, but yeah.
It's kind of a cool saying.
I like
it's a cool premise, because if you don't honor yourself and put your worthiness on a certain level, a standard, then people aren't going to think you're worthy on a certain level. So,
what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Well, that's a good one. Ever been given? Well, I will say this. I'm a self-managed person, musician, artist, if you will. And so a lot of the advice is stuff that I've realized, whether it be self-realization, trial and error, making mistakes, realizing I don't want to be a fuck up. I want to be a better person. I want to hold myself in higher standards. So to answer your question is maybe it's this constant evolution of trial and error, figuring out what works for you, what you want to aspire to be, what you want to leave behind. And that's becoming more of a reality for me now that I'm in my 60s. Mm-hmm. How you want to be remembered by, how you want others to feel about you, but also what you want to give to others. It ain't all about us. Mm-hmm. Whatever we can do to inspire other people, it's huge.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm in a service industry. I am a musician. I am a healer, if you will, in the best of sense. But it's something that I've kind of given myself the ability to say, I'm a healer, because my intention is to heal others through music, through the joy that I have, inspire others, make others feel, from my love for music and my self gratification that I get through music, and music is such a communication force. So
Yeah, you're a giver. You know?
But the other thing that I had mentioned, and we were talking before we started this, that a very young musician who is one of my dearest friends, his name is Michael Ruff. He played with Bonnie Raitt. He played with all kinds of folks over the years, Chaka Khan. Anyway, Michael said to me something when I was a kid, and at 13, he was a jazz level prodigy. I mean, the stuff that was pouring out of him at 13, you wouldn't believe it. He wrote Crying My Shoulder for Bonnie Raitt's Nick of the Time record. He was signed to Warner Brothers. He actually brought me out to plan a couple songs, which was very exciting, his first record deal. He said to me, Jeff, you know, I see you trying so hard. You know, you don't have to try so hard. And at the time, I didn't really understand. But as time has gone on, he said, you don't have to try so hard, except that you have the gift. Now that was easy for him to say, because it just, music poured out of him at 13 like a jazz musician at 50 or 60. It was easy for him to feel that way.
Okay.
I had to work harder. But as time goes on, there's something to be said about if you get out of the way, or if you not let yourself to be ruled by your ego, versus getting into this place where you're almost taking your ego out of the equation, where you become the music, or where you become the energy, or that your passion is so powerful that something takes over that's bigger than you.
Yeah.
It's this wave, it's the muse, it's inspiration, it's love, it's God, it's Buddha, it's whatever you want to call it. It's ramen. You know, it's like this thing that becomes this power. Follow the force, Luke.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
All that stuff, all that kind of stuff. That's next level.
There's a feeling of outer bodiness
Yeah.
almost when you're in a jam or something like this, you know?
Yeah.
So what is it that you still want to accomplish with music and, you know, in your life?
Every possible day that I have an opportunity to put the thing in my hand.
Yeah.
Guitar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and be able to move people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be able to do something that feels like this is a huge reason why I'm here, why I'm alive.
Makes you
to be able to do
feel
this.
alive even more so.
And on top of that is like to flirt with the muse. I love that. I love the idea that there's this muse that's just floating, like, if you will, the muse is like this tidal wave. And all you got to do is grab your surfboard and run out and pop it on there. And it's just going. It's just going. It's more powerful than anything. It's eternal. It's an eternal light. It's an eternal energy. And so because that's always going, then my wish is to match up with that force that's always going.
Love that.
And may that happen after my body falls away, that I'm just going to be part of that thing that just keeps going.
Yeah.
You know, because I do believe that there's something else that's going to happen.
Yeah. Powerful spirits, you know, you got a powerful spirit yourself.
Well, it's what's kept me vital.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people. I'm 66. There's a lot of people that haven't made it this far.
Yeah, and you've accomplished so much, and you've gotten to do some things that people would, you know,
give their left,
give
whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm still connected with that little 13-year-old kid
So
who was so excited to get
what's
in the club.
left?
Well, it's not. I don't look at it that way.
Okay, well, what's right? What's right then? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do now? I mean, is there anything you want to accomplish more?
I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it.
So it's just
every
being
day.
Is
yeah.
good
Just here's one that I love. Like a magnet, I draw opportunity to me. Now, it's kind of a lofty sentence, and some people could think that you're full of it.
Yeah.
But that being said, if we are more powerful than we could ever imagine. I mean, I said to myself, I want to play with the best musicians that I can. And in the span of these last 50 years, I played with Ray Charles and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Joe Cocker and Bette Midler and David Foster, and the list goes on and on. So somewhere I could say to myself, well, Jeff, you've convinced yourself. You could convince yourself that your power of manifestation is doing pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Right? So I love that I can say that like a magnet, I'm going to continue to draw opportunity to me.
There you go.
And that's what's left.
And it's going to happen. Yeah.
Well,
so that's beautiful.
I have a beautiful wife, Inger Nova Jorgensen. She's an amazing sculptor and painter.
Yep.
We make music together.
She's going to be on the show.
She should be.
Yeah.
Because she's a badass.
Yeah.
And
she's
the
rad.
love of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm really lucky to have her in my life. And that's yet another thing that I've shown myself, that how lucky I am to manifest this beautiful love in my life, and this relationship where we're both very talented people, and we both have the space to do what we do, and we both encourage each other, and we're both continuing to learn. Mm-hmm. So
is there something that you'd say that you just you can't wait to do now that you've been through everything that
I
you
can't
can
wait
almost in a
to
sense?
keep living as long as I can live,
just
and keep
trucking?
doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And may the opportunities continue to I think he just wants ramen.
Just wants chill.
No, he just wants
He's
ramen.
good.
Everyone wants ramen. I mean, who wouldn't want ramen?
Yeah.
So.
Well, so after all this time in music and everything, do you have any musicians that you look up to now that you maybe
a million of them?
Yeah. Is there anyone in particular that you could tell me about?
Well, when I was rehearsing with David Crosby down the hall with Paul McCartney, and so it's so cool that I had this full circle. Here he is down the hall, and we had an opportunity to go in and see him play, and I'm this far away from him.
Wow.
And he's singing Obla Di Obla Da, and I'm singing it with him, and he's looking at me smiling.
That's amazing.
So
the guy you saw on TV when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he came in to watch us play.
Wow.
And so I'm performing for the guy who inspired me to pick up the guitar.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he's certainly, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but just the fact that happened was kind of enough in a way, So
besides the music and the the guitar playing and the obvious love that you have for life, what else are you into that maybe people don't know about so much? You know what I mean? Do you cook? Do you, paint, or do you do anything else artistic, or you know what I mean?
I do. I mean, I do a lot of production with music. I mean, a lot of it is really around this passion for creativity. And I'm sure there's other things too, but I mean, during COVID, I really got into having a garden.
Okay.
So that was kind of an undiscovered love.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
But that being said, to do anything well, you have to devote all your time.
Yeah.
And all my time is not in being in the garden. It was for a while, and I really enjoyed having that time because my tours had all canceled.
Yeah.
So I was getting into being in the garden.
Yeah.
But I'm just really loving the opportunity to be of service to other artists, and I help produce records for them, for other artists who hire me to do that. So that's something where it's not my own music, but I'm bringing my own creativity to others that way.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'm this summer I'm going to Italy, and I'm going to teach at a school in Rome.
Wow.
Do a 3-day workshop.
Amazing.
with Italian musicians.
Excellent.
So that's a very exciting opportunity to kind of cross the big ocean and be asked to be of service to other musicians from another country. It's a biggie.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're going to come back with some amazing stories.
Yeah.
And some kids are going to obviously be able to say that they learned something from you.
Well, isn't that, I mean, that's
what it's all about, right?
It's as cool as it gets.
Yeah.
I mean, because at a certain point, it's not all about you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm acquiring all these opportunities, but then, to be able to share some of what I've been able to experience is a huge plus.
And you have a new project going on, right? The Gilmore project?
Yeah, I'm playing in a band that plays the music of Pink Floyd.
Okay.
And so that's been interesting and
you're playing
challenging.
guitar, right?
Yeah. Yes, I am playing guitar.
You're not playing drums?
No,
All
I'm
right.
not playing drums. No. So I've been doing that for the last year or so, and that's I'm enjoying it a lot. And again, I in a conversation we had earlier before the cameras were on, it's like you look at Robert De Niro, and he's a father of a bride. He's a gangster. He's a prize fighter. So I love that I can be of service to my interests as a creative person, doing different things surrounding what I have prowess in, if you will, what I have interest in. So to have I got asked to play with Ray Charles. I learned that music. I got asked to play with Joe Cocker. I learned that music. I got asked to play with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I learned that music. I got asked to tour with Jefferson Starship. I learned that music. Bette Midler, Ricky Lee Jones. So the fact that I left high school, I got in these other schools, these schools of music, and each school taught me a whole encyclopedia about styles, about an artist's passion, about ways that I can be of service to their music. And I like that. It's like if you're an actor, your father, the bride, you're the prize fighter. So I got a chance to play. I get by with a little help from my friends with Joe Cocker in front of 150,000 people.
Jeez.
Behind the Iron Curtain in East Berlin before the wall was down.
Jeez.
I get a chance to play the 50th anniversary of Woodstock with Jefferson Starship at Bethel Woods at the 50th anniversary at the place where Woodstock was held. I get a chance to, do these various things that are just so exciting to me. Yeah. And so.
And so you were obviously very close with David Crosby. And,
I was.
Unfortunately, we lost him in past, was it January?
It's, I don't know, about 3 months ago.
Yeah. Do you have any stories or memories you could share with us?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Well,
I know if it's too touchy, you don't have to go there.
It's fine. It's fine. It's still raw for me.
Yeah.
I met him. I was touring with Mark Cohn, and we got asked to open some shows for Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And when Mark and I were on stage doing our, plugging in our guitars and stuff, I saw David Crosby walking through the wings.
Yeah.
And so I started playing one of his songs to, kind of just go,
yeah,
I know you.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and smiled, and I looked at him and smiled, and there was this thing that started at that very moment.
Yeah.
And 3 shows into it, he came up to me at the end of a show and he said, Nash and I have been watching you, and we think you'd be perfect for our duo when we're not working with Stephen Stills. And I wish I had the wherewithal to go, yeah, I don't know, Stephen. I don't know, David. I got these weddings, I got to play. No, but, just to...
This is a joke.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, just because he would have laughed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But, when I first got into that, I was just like, oh, my God, yeah. So,
how cool.
We got to be very close. And, admittedly, every person has a threshold, if you will, of how deep you can really get. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that throughout my career. Music is a very, very intimate exchange, but everyone's different, and everyone has their they play their cards, close to their chest in various degrees, and which is fine. But when you're a sensitive person, you have to learn to protect yourself too.
Yeah.
And so there have been times in our relationship, if you will, our working relationship and our heart relationship that there's been some disappointments. There was a number of years where I was in, and then all of a sudden I was out, and the phone never rang to kind of say anything to me. So I had to kind of go through some stuff, but that's real life stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you stronger.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all of the adversity, for lack of other terms, we all have an opportunity to learn from our experiences. And that was yet an experience to learn from. For me, the thing that was beautiful is that when that door closed, all these other doors opened.
Yeah.
So I was able to take that experience and bring that into other experiences, like playing with Jazz is Dead, playing the music of the Grateful Dead in a jazz fusion format with yet other huge heroes of mine.
Super cool.
Alfonso Johnson from Weather Report, T. Lavitz and Rod Morgenstein from the Dixie Dregs, and getting a chance to just further my own path, kind of like when I gave my notice to Ray Charles. But the thing that was beautiful is that it came back around.
Yeah.
With David.
That's
and
awesome.
We toured together towards the end of his touring career, which happened up until COVID. And we had 2 tours that canceled because of COVID. So I'm just thrilled that we had a chance to tour again together. So yeah, so there's a very beautiful message that he left on my phone, which I guess I could share. It is kind of personal, but it's kind of beautiful too. And I mean, it's very beautiful because, David was people would ask me, so what kind of person is David Crosby? And I would always answer, he's an interesting number of people. And what I meant by that was because it depended on when you crossed paths with him. Now, I've said this before, but when people get famous at a very young age, that could be kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
Because people haven't yet had a chance to formulate their real adult feet set in the ground type people. And so when you have people around you who are treating you like a hero, that could be kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
So I think anyone who has gotten famous early, it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that enough said.
Yeah.
That being said, David, I still can't even believe he's gone.
So he left you a voice message.
So yeah, so it's on my phone, which I dropped on the floor. I have to find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he left me.
So he left you a voice message, and you were telling me about this. Someone reminded you that they couldn't leave you a voice message.
Well, the day after he died.
Yeah.
The day after he died, I started getting a bunch of phone messages. Well, I got phone messages, but I got a text from a friend who said, I tried to leave you a phone message and your phone message are full. And so I decided to go to my messages and just start deleting messages.
So that other people could leave messages.
So yeah, because I didn't know if Graham was going to call or Stephen was going to call. I didn't know.
Yeah, you don't want to miss.
I just wanted to have it. So I started deleting old messages, and then I found this message from David that I kind of either I forgot that he called or he had called and I was too busy at the time. But he leaves me this incredible message. All right, so
you found this.
So I found this the day after he died.
And you're going to play it for us?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I feel like, I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like he was reaching out from there. Now, he had left it 6 months before.
Yeah.
But the way that I found it,
well,
let's just say it was so timely.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he was reaching out from beyond, but I'm saying that to have this encapsulation, it just was mind-boggling. So he's talking about, basically he goes, I'm sitting here I'll play it for you, but I'm sitting here in a market parking lot and I've been listening to CPR, which is the band that we were in together. So he's obviously listening to this music we had done, and he named some titles of songs that we wrote together. And that was, part of our legacy, dare I say. And so, all right. So hopefully you'll be able to hear this. Let's see here. Wait a minute now.
How cool.
All right, here we go. Let me. I'm going to start this over.
So I'm sitting here in a market parking lot, and I've been listening to CPR on the way over here. And when I got to the parking lot, it came out what Katie did. And I'd been listening to your playing in the tunes coming up to this, Angel Dream and a couple others. And I love you, Jeff. You are a fucking wonderful musician. I absolutely fucking love where your head goes. You make beautiful music, and you made beautiful music with us, and you should know that. I love you, and you did a good job. You really did. I hope your life is going well. See ya.
Wow. Yeah. Man, that's deep. And I mean, in a beautiful way too. You get almost like a goodbye letter, and it's a love letter. You know how much more beautiful can life be when you get something like that from a person that you respected so much.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Jeff, well, man, thank you for spilling your heart over this ramen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pleasure, my friend. I don't even know if I want to shake your hand or like intertwine fingers or something like this, but we do it all here at Rogue Ramen. So, man, thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful, and thank you for all the stories. And I'd love to see you again and get you back on in a little while and see what else you've been up to.
And huge shout out to Darren Field. He's
doing all this stuff for basically nothing, and just he's got kids, he's got a life, and he still puts on the best.
He's a
show.
master at what he does,
yes.
and Darren has very involved with our productions that we do at the Stonehouse. He's the man.
Yeah.
He produces these videos.
Did he do the lighting at the?
He does all that stuff
at the show up at the Callahan's.
No, it wasn't. If he did the lighting, it would have been better. Really, his work is
he's
world class, and
brilliant.
we're lucky to have him on our team.
Right on, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right, man.